Thank you all for being this side of the wall. Looks like we've got the best half of the audience over here, so including some of my team that made a lot of this happen, so welcome to all of you. I'm fortunate enough to have a topic that's really important to M&S to talk to you about today in terms of click and collect, and I'll spend around 15 minutes taking you through why it's important to us, what have we done, what's worked well for us, and perhaps some of the fails that we've had along the way as well. And then hopefully take a lot of questions. But first, a quick introduction. I'm Ricky Wilson. As I say, I now look after operations. It's the third time round for me, so hopefully I'll get it right this time. And I started back in M&S.com back in '99, which might be a surprise for some of you. Not that I look so young, but that M&S were selling online in the last century. So in our relatively young industry, I'm a bit of an old fossil. Before then, I spent 10 years in our stores looking after, amongst other things, our customer ordering service that we had within stores. And whilst I started in M&S in '87 in Eastbourne, in reality, my mum was pregnant with me when she was working in M&S at the time, so it really is in my blood. I guess you're all familiar with M&S, 132 years old. We operate across 59 countries, either online or in stores. We have 900 UK stores, but we also have 450 stores overseas, with around $15 billion a year of turnover at current exchange rates. And we're the market leader in clothing and a pretty special food business. We've got quite a long history, actually, when it comes to multi-channel at M&S. We launched a big book catalogue back in 1985 and started selling online in '99, as I say. We were the first major high street retailer to launch a dedicated mobile website in 2010. And we were the first to roll out iPads to our store assistants for ordering back in 2012. Last year, we rolled out Stock Locator, allowing our customers to be able to view whether or not an item of stock is available in their local store for them to buy. And we also launched a new fulfillment mechanism, which we refer to as BOSS, buy online and send from store. More on those later. Last November, we launched Sparks, our new membership program, which has already got 4 million members across the UK, allowing us to get much better insight in terms of multi-channel shopping of our customers. We've just launched a new iPad app, and in the first few days has got 4.5 out of 5 stars within the App Store. And later this month, we're launching a new personalised styling service for our top Sparks customers, which has been conceived and created within our digital labs team. But to enable many of these changes, there's been some major investments in terms of the infrastructure within the business that I'd just like to touch on. Those have been both front of house and back of house. The foundation stone was the move away from the Amazon-provided platform that served us so very well for many years to one that we would own and develop, which launched in the spring of 2014. And if migrating what was then an £800 million business onto a new platform wasn't frightening enough, we did it at the same time as investing in a 900,000 square foot e-commerce distribution centre in Castle Donington. These investments have been absolutely fundamental to us being able to improve our customer proposition. And I thought I'd just share a little bit of the background with a video of Castle Donington.
In May 2013, Marks & Spencer's opened its Castle Donington Centre, one of Europe's largest single-occupant distribution depots. This state-of-the-art facility is almost 1 million square feet. That's enough space to house 3,500 double-decker buses or 2.3 billion Percy pigs. Built with M&S Plan A in mind, the building is carbon neutral and features Europe's largest solar wall. Open 24/7, at peak times, over 1,200 people work to make sure every electronic GM order in the world, made either online or from store, is fulfilled from here. The first step in a single item's journey through Castle Donington to the customer starts at the inbound section. Using impressive levels of automation, over 1.4 million single items are received from suppliers worldwide every week. The items are electronically tagged, then sorted into 3 different types of singles: box, hanging clothes, or odd-shaped items, aka uglies. Box items include beauty products and lingerie. They are sent to be stored in an impressive 82 feet high, fully automated storage shed. Castle Donington has the capacity to store over 16 million singles at any one time. The uglies, such as duvets and tableware, are put onto pallets and stacked on the ground or in a huge area of racking. Clothing is stored on 3 massive hanging rail loops. This is called the dynamic buffering zone because these rails are continuously circulating the hanging singles. By constantly monitoring the electronic tags of the rotating singles, whenever any Shop Your Way order is made, the system knows exactly where the nearest suitable single is and automatically diverts it to be sent along miles of rails to packing. When box items are ordered by customers, the system automatically retrieves the correct storage tote by crane from the storage systems and sends them to the automatic box pick area. Here, items are picked from their storage totes and placed into order totes to be also sent to packing. The picked items are then sent to packing benches where they are scanned, packed, then labelled. The packages are then put onto a cross-sorting conveyor belt, where every label is scanned, so the packages are sent to the correct area of dispatch, to be either sent to stores or directly to customers' homes. The Shop Your Way packages to be sent to home addresses carry along the belt. They slide down the appropriate helter-skelter chutes into trailers for next-day delivery or standard delivery to continue their journeys to M&S customers around the globe.
So you can see we've invested in a bit of kit. But we've also invested in other areas like new skills. Not in the obvious areas like software engineering and product developers, but also digital editorial teams who can bring brilliant content to life for us for our customers to be able to be inspired by. And we've also reinforced our analytics capabilities within our organisation so that we can make use of that data I mentioned earlier from our Sparks programme. And combined with some of the other things we're bringing to market, begin to get some really good insight from that. So I mentioned earlier about our stock locator. So if you wanted to see whether a shirt was available in your local store, not only can we see that you went to see whether that particular shirt was in your size in that store, but also then whether you later went into the store and bought that item within the next few days, and even if you didn't use your credit card but you used cash in order to do that. And that's really important for us, not least because we want to make sure that we've got stock in the right place for our customers, but also because we can then start to see how these channels are beginning to work together. And we've got up to around about 7% conversion rate from customers who look at an individual item, a size of shirt, and then go and pick it up later on. But we're also changing our ways of working. We've announced recently that we are moving away from a channel-centric organisation, and we heard a little bit about that earlier in terms of some of the challenges that brings, to one that's slightly more omni-channel or customer-centric. So what that means is that the business units themselves will be trading the website, laying the website out, etc., rather than an e-commerce dedicated team doing that. Our marketing, our online marketeers will be embedded within the central marketing function so that digital is truly at the heart of what the customer comms program and the creative development of any proposition that we're bringing out. And we think that's probably that we're about the time now that .com is big enough and important enough for us that we ought to move to the next stage of our evolution and push it back into the organisation. I suppose nowhere's more important about having great multi-channel capability than when it comes to order and collect. Click and collect has been quite a journey for M&S. We first had an ordering capability back in the early 90s, which was a lovely black and green screen mainframe system that was absolutely adored by our customers. As soon as you tell a customer that when they come into Eastbourne store, you're trying to source the last item of that stock for Aberdeen store and ship it down to her, she loves you forever. It really is often the thought that counts, and not necessarily in those days with a very old system, the execution that would inevitably get her the item. So we know that we wanted to be able to do something in this space. We were very clear that we could improve on that which we offered, but actually we found it quite difficult to get there. We'd gone live with Amazon with a great website working well for us, But click and collect really wasn't on their product roadmap to be able to do. It wasn't something that many of the other retailers at the time were calling out for, and it really wasn't where, at the time, they wanted to be as an organisation. But we were suitably persuasive, and they were incredibly accommodating, and we got some code written, and it went live. And almost immediately, we began to see a really good customer uptake in terms of what that meant for them, with around a quarter of our orders being picked up within stores. By the time we moved away from Amazon, we'd improved this, the service and the proposition a number of times, and we ended up moving it from in 623 collection stores now, including places like train stations, hospitals and airports. We've shortened the cut-off time, and everything goes out for next-day delivery for customers. And now, around about 70%, just over 70% of all of our orders are collected in stores. But with that volume, there are certainly some growing pains that come through. Our collection desks have the highest return per foot of any area within M&S. If you look at the size of .com and the size of that then gets delivered to stores, around about 10% of all of our clothing sales are delivered and taken not through a till, as we would know it, but through the collection desks themselves. And our busiest stores at peak deal with around 1,000 items each per day, 1,000 parcels each per day. And so, whilst customers were telling us that they loved the fact that they could now get their order tomorrow to go and do a collection, what they really wanted was a much faster way of being able to collect the item when they got to store, and shorter queue times. That's the piece of time that they valued the most. So we looked at doing a couple of things. Firstly, we redesigned our collection tools. So we got rid of the desktop and we moved it onto a handheld device. A few reasons for that. It's more friendly. It's not hiding behind a computer screen. The journey itself for the advisor is deliberately stripped back, so only the functions that are needed for them are available on the device. And because they move with the member of staff, it means that they can be doing things on the device whilst they're going to collect the item of order for customers, so that they're using up more of their time. They take up no space, so at peak times we can have more members of staff serving customers at the same time in the same space. And in themselves, they also cost less than a desktop PC often. But secondly, we made it quicker to be able to find a customer's orders. We hold customer orders for around 7 days, and whilst a large proportion of them are picked up on the day in which, the first day that they could be picked up, some of them hang around for a few days. We have a very, very small number of orders that are never collected. It's sub 1%. So, but when you think about all of that volume, being able to store those items and be able to retrieve them quickly in the backstage of a store is quite a challenge. Until last summer, we stored all of our customer orders by name, by initial, last initial. What's your name, madam? Let me go and find it. In Scotland, that's quite a big problem with all the M's. It makes it very difficult to then go and find everything. So a very simple thing for us was then change it to looking at the last 3 digits on an order number. Small improvement made an absolute, a huge difference to the speed of recovery of that item. So queue times now for our customers has dropped, and our NPS scores at that have never been higher. We still think there's more to do, but most definitely we're being able to handle things somewhat quicker. Changing the technology, though, has also helped us to involve the store fit-out in that area of the store. Removing the requirement for a desktop means that we can get away with the desk itself, the desk look, and go for a more side-by-side service. Over on the left-hand side is a kind of an aerial shot of the new scheme that's rolling out to our store openings and to those stores that are having a refit. The piece in the middle shows us how customers are queuing and where the wait time is around there and where they congregate. So by using the cameras in the sky and the hot spotting that we had in there, what was originally 3 podia that sat within that space moved down to 2 podia. We didn't need it. We could see from the data that therefore having a bit more bum room in there was something that was welcomed. And over the back, we've got a fitting room. Seems kind of odd because there are fitting rooms elsewhere in the M&S store, but customers told us that when they got hold of the item, what they'd really like to be able to do is try it on, see whether it fitted, see whether they liked it, and if not, find an easy way to be able to return it. So there's also a returns box there on the right-hand side. We don't mind if customers want to send us the goods back. We'd rather have them back much quicker in order that we can recycle them into stock and then sell them again. And each of those things help us to do that just a little bit better. But we're also conscious that that collections area probably isn't going to be the answer for everywhere. We started trialling lockers in a couple of locations, including Teddington Simply Food stores, and we've got some other stores that are rolling out this month. One of the things that surprised us the most wasn't that customers were satisfied with using the lockers. We think we designed a relatively simple interaction for them to do it. But 85% of them said they would prefer to use a locker than go and speak to a member of staff, which is kind of a cause for introspection for us, I suppose. But it's as much as anything about where we place this in their journey through the stores and how much easier it is for them to be able to get hold of their items. But I've long thought that omni-channel will be loved most by customers if we can somehow bring to life the thing that being able to get hold of that item of stock for Mrs. Miggins in Eastbourne store and let her know that we are going to be able to get it from Aberdeen store for her and it will turn up. And so putting a customer in touch with every last item of stock is something that I think that we very much would aspire to want to be able to do. And we've been developing our capability within that space. We've been fulfilling customer orders from a number of stores for some time now, for about the last year. Currently, we have around 25 stores where their store stock is visible on the website, in that we can sell and place orders against it. It's invisible to the customer. They don't know that we're picking the item from Aberdeen store and sending it to them, but it gives us a really good way of trialing a few things. And so our learnings along the way are that we can keep a real-time stock figure for our stores in our order management system. So that's a good thing to know that we can do. We also know that our store stock is not perfectly accurate. To be fair, we didn't expect it to be, but it's pretty good. And going to pick an item, if it's not there, as long as you've got a way of recycling that demand to somewhere else to fulfill for the customer and you don't fail them, it's actually a really good prompt to go and recount the stock in order you correct the stock file, in order that we replenish that stock and then the next customer who comes into that store can then buy it. Picking from our backstage area is really tough. It's much easier to pick from the sales floor. Now, we're relatively fortunate because we've got virtually all of our lines are RFID'd, and therefore we've got these pointing guns that beep as you get closer to things. But even so, it's really not easy to pick from some of our backstage areas. We discovered that we needed more than one printer. 10% of our time dispatching goods was changing paper out, one for the parcel summary and one for the sticker that goes on the outside. Simple thing, and now resolved. And then a rather crazy one is don't pick customers' orders and put them onto a normal running rail or a stocking rail, because other customers just come and take them away. You're much better putting them into a normal shopping trolley. We seem to have a much more, we don't want to steal other people's shopping, but we're quite happy if it's fair game if it's on a normal running rail. So all of those things allows us in time, should we wish, to pick customers' orders from the store that the customer wishes to collect them in. And clearly that comes with a level of a speed advantage that we can't do if we're just fulfilling from some of our distribution centres. But I think that at this moment in time is going to be for a very small number of our customers who we want to be able to do that for. And clearly for us, we need to make sure that we can get the economics right between huge automated warehouses, which have been built for efficiency, as you saw earlier, through to walking around the sales floor and effectively doing customers' shopping for them. I think there's space for both of them. It's about getting the balance right. And I think with the very nature of all of our assistants now having new handheld terminals and the RFID on the products that we've got in stores, there's absolutely something that we can make our in-store picking much more efficient that we go through. So, as I say, lots to do, lots to still to go after, but it's a start. Thank you.